Good evening, everybody. It's time for our Sunday night weekly Podding Shed chat. Hope you're all well and have had a fantastic week. Now, the weather's been a bit of a problem this weekend with the strong winds that suddenly came through, and I hope you've had no damage or anything like that. Just checking that my microphone and everything is turned on. Yes, it is. Excellent. So, what have we got coming up today? Today, it's all about potatoes. The lovely Steve House has sent me lots of videos about some recipes that he's been making. I want to know from you guys whether you chit or not, and how you go about growing your potatoes. That's coming up a little bit later on. Before that, I'll go through what I've been up to over this last week. But first, let's see what is going on in the comments, if anybody's actually watching. So straight away, Ballycillian Allotment Man, good evening all. Good evening to you. Philly SPB, good evening to you. Turbo Stream, good evening to the Veg Grower Army. Indeed, good evening to you. Sean O'Brien has joined. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. And Laura W, good evening to you. Hope you are well. Hargrave Gas has joined. Hello, everyone. Hope you've had a good week. We've had some horrible weather. We've certainly had some horrible weather. And I'm going to be sleeping in my camper van tonight. That's a different story. Anna Jones, good evening to you. Hope you're well. And she goes on to say strong winds and rain in the northeast. What have we got here? Stuart Jackson has joined. Good evening to evening, Richard, and to the Veg Grower Army. Hope everyone is well. We've got somebody in the Facebook group who's obviously done some comment but left nothing. Unfortunately, if you're watching in the Facebook group, I may not see who you are due to the way Facebook privacy works. So please just let us know who you are at the end or give StreamYard permission to display your name. Kate Spratt has joined. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. Who else have we got? I think Ian Beddoes. Hello, Army. Been windy here as well. Have I missed anybody else? Grove Veg has joined. Hi everyone, hope you've had better weather than I have this week. Richard Golden has joined. LOL. Have I missed him before? He's finding something funny anyway. Nikki and Nature, hello, haven't seen you for a while. Hope you are well. Lovely to see you. Graham Arnold has joined. Good evening to you. Ian Suggett has joined. Good evening to you. Have I said Adrian? He's joined. Yep. Facebook user. Howdy. That's somebody in the Facebook group. Digwell Green Fingers. Good evening to you. Happy Feb indeed. It's Sue on Facebook. Good evening to you, Sue. Amanda Joy has joined. Good evening to you. Anis McGowan. Good evening to you. Rebecca Hawkins. Good evening to you. Beatrice, good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. Indeed. So we'll come back to the comments in just a moment. What have I been up to over this last week? So evenings, I haven't done much in the evenings, in all honesty. It's been a bit tricky. Last few weeks, I've been going down the allotment slightly on the way home from work, but it's just a little bit tricky this week. Been working a bit later, not been so easy. Let me get rid of that comment first. So I didn't really do much until yesterday. Now, yesterday my brother came down and I got him to help me move one of my my corrugated iron beds that I have on the allotment. Now, all three of these beds are in a row, so they are looking a lot better and just a little bit more organised. Now, I've got to get on and build some more beds to go in front of these, where my potatoes will be growing. So more on that a little bit later on. We did find lots of mice and mice holes when we moved these beds, however, which was quite interesting because I didn't expect to find those. Now today I've taken a trip out, went to Brighton, and it's Seedy Sunday, and I bought a few things. So being a Seedy Sunday, for those that don't know, is the UK's largest and longest running seed swap. It goes on every year in Brighton, and this year, I've got to say, was slightly different. It's still very good, but they've moved location. They didn't charge an entry fee this time because it's in an open air market. Usually it's in a school. And they didn't have any talks going on. They did not have hardly any stalls selling anything. It very much was about the seed swap, and this is due to COVID. Last year's one got cancelled, I believe, and the one before that was right before COVID kicked in that I managed to go to. So what did I get myself from CD Sunday? Let's get rid of that because you don't really need to see that. So first of all, I got some runner beans, a variety called Streamline. Looking forward to trying those. Peas, hopefully you can see that okay. Progress N9. Don't know what that means, but we'll give it a go. Some climbing French beans, Brunhild. So again, don't know what they are. Everlasting onions. That sounds quite interesting. I'm excited to try those. Calabrese green sprouting. I don't know why I got that. I probably got plenty of it. I just thought I'd give it a try. Squash Blue Ballet. Also sounds interesting. Leek variety King Richard, just because, well, it's King Richard, I had to get it. Squash Green Curry, also thought that would be quite interesting to try. And finally, this is one I'm really looking forward to trying, Egyptian walking onions. I'm going to have a quick look in the back because I think I've heard about these. Yeah, they are. What we've got is like this. I've heard about these before. They almost look like shallots or garlic, and I believe they actually have a tendency as they grow more onions up the stem, which then flops over and they walk, as I'm aware of. Walks makes it sound a bit more grand, but it's going to be interesting to see just how well that works. Then the other thing I got was this big blue bag of seaweed meal. Let's see if we can have a look on the inside. See, it's like this very fine powder. I don't want to open up too much because it will end up going everywhere in this shed. Very fine powder of dried seaweed ground up into a powder, which it's going to be fun to try and see what's going on there. So over to you guys. What have you been up to in your own allotments, your own garden over this last week? Stuart Jackson has said he's took a large ash tree down yesterday, so I'm hurting a bit today. I bet you are. Taking down trees are not easy and not hard, not easy job. So I'm not surprised you're hurting. I did the same a couple of weeks ago, as you know, with our good friend. Oh, excellent. I'm chitting on my windowsill, my earlies only. This is my first time growing, so I got lots of varieties from local growers group Potato Day to see what works best. Oh, Potato Day. Now, that was something they do have at CD Sunday today, potatoes, but I didn't get any potatoes because I got plenty already. What else have we got? Should my chitin potatoes be in the dark or not? Thanks, team. We'll come to that in just a moment. Just want to find out what's going on to everybody else. I'm not aware of a seed swap near to me in Birmingham. There, if you have a look online, I'm sure there is some. They are popping up all over the place, and they've been getting a lot more traction. Like I say, CD Sunday is the largest one going. It used to be in the school canteen, which was a huge school canteen, but this was in a market this year, and it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tables just for the seed swap. Those that know, I went to another seed swap a few years ago, about 3 years ago now, and it was terrible. I paid £3 to get in, and the seed swap was one table, and the entire school sports hall was just people selling stuff or charities, and I felt a bit miffed because it wasn't a gardening setup, I felt. But that's going back a few years now. Oh, Beatrice has just asked, hope you and your wife are okay to Adrian. Indeed. Any news on how Adrian's wife is doing after the problem we had a couple of weeks ago? It'd be interesting to find out. Amanda has been repairing her polytunnel. I've dug out all her strawberries, de-weeded them and put them back into rows. Oh yeah, that's a lot of strawberry time is upon us, isn't it? Beatrice, thank you. Just awaiting to hear from consultant from Adrian. So there we go. I know it was angina, if I remember correctly. So yeah. And Amanda also gave her shed a little tidy. Indeed. It's time of year to do that sort of thing with this weather. Graham Arnold's polytunnel turned up this week with anti-hotspot tape. Just got to wait for a dry, mild day with no wind. Indeed, yes. Yes, I remember you asking about this last week. So any tips and what have you with that? Don't think it's right to put it up with the amount of wind we've had this weekend. Nikki and H has been mulching, tidying raised beds, trimming back, taking stuff to tip. Happy to see my tulips and daffs popping up. Yes, tulips and daffodils are popping up. In fact, you remember a couple of weeks ago, I said last week that the calendar said about snowdrops. My snowdrops have started to show themselves. So, yeah, I think we're probably about a week behind that calendar then, that one it says. But yes, tulips and daffodils are popping up, as is the rhubarb. So spring is just around the corner. Toby Spring, I made a start of recovering my Heath Robertson cold frame. I ran out of thumbtacks, so had to stop. Indeed. And Digwell has found Birmingham Botanical Gardens, 29th of January is the seed swap in Birmingham. For those who missed it now, but I'm sure it'll come around again. Rebecca started a big project in the front garden, going to make it a wildlife garden. Plenty of seed sowing and potting on cobia. Sounds good. I like the idea of a wildlife garden, especially in the front garden. It seems to fit quite nicely. Oh, by the way, I've got a little heater down here, an oil heater, so we're not going to have that noise of the fan heater drowning me out all the time this week. Stuart Jackson, seed swap is a great idea. Maybe I should do one at school. I think it'd be a great fundraising way to do things at school as well, actually, Stuart. I think it's certainly something to look into. Certainly something I think would be a great idea. Planted 6 buckets of potatoes in the polytunnel for extra early crop from Ballycillian. Indeed, this is what we're going to be moving on to in just a moment. And Adrian is now 17 weeks dry. Fantastic. So, yeah, fantastic. So let's have a look at what this calendar suggests to do for this next week. Let's bring the overhead camera up. And it says, a complete pruning of established trees and shrubs as early as possible before bud burst. And mulch liberally with organic matter. Soft fruit will benefit from a dressing of well-rotted farmyard manure. Plant autumn fruiting varieties of strawberries now, so they will have time to establish during the summer. So yes, I'm going to be making sure I've finished all my winter pruning this week based on that calendar. So if you want to zap yourself in and appear on screen, the link is going up in the comments right now, or alternatively, you can call in on 07307 135 174. Let me know what you've been up to in your own allotments and your own gardens, or how you look after or grow potatoes, and whether you chit or not. So let's move on to chit or not. Chit or not. Do you chit your potatoes or not? I know Kate said earlier that she does. I think it was Kate, wasn't it? Let's just go back and see if I can see it. Yes, Kate, she said she had her first earlies chitting on the windowsill. And I've got some of my potatoes down here. Let me just get them for you. They're still in a bag. I've got some out chitting. And actually, I can see already some of these have started chitting anyway. And this is what we want. If we're going to chit, they're going to be there. Shall I bring the overhead camera so you can see it a bit better? They're going to be chitting. They're going to be there. They're starting to spring into life. These have been in a quite a warm environment, so I'm not surprised they've started chitting. And I should take them out the bag and pop them all up, standing up individually in egg cartons. Truth is, we don't buy eggs, so I don't have any egg cartons. So I do like to chit my potatoes. I'm going to say that right now. I chit my potatoes. Reason being that the debate is always, or the argument against chit, and I hear, is that farmers don't chit their potatoes because they don't get a huge amount of benefit, and they're trying to grow for profit. Time is the factor there. So, and I think that's, let me just move those out of the way. I think that's a valid argument. Farmers don't chit their potatoes, so why should we? My thought is that they're chitting anyway. They're going to be doing it. They're going to be jumping into life anyway. So why would I not chit? Why would I not use that to my own advantage? I'm not planting, well, I probably am planting lots of potatoes, but not on the same rate as a farmer would do. So it's easier for me to manage. And I just want to get them off to that good start, get them into the ground and get them growing so I can grow my potatoes. So let's have a look at the comments and see what people are saying so far. Kate is asking, would you put manure on the rhubarb coming up? Just around it or cover completely? So my advice there would be to go around with either manure or compost. The manure needs to be really well rotted. The same as the compost, really well rotted. But rhubarb is a very hungry plant, so plenty of manure, plenty of compost would not go amiss. But don't cover the leaves is my advice as well on that. If anybody else has anything they want to add, then please do let us know. Alice McGowan, my first time growing potatoes last year and I chitted them. I will be chitting this year too. So there we go. Somebody else who chits. Is there any particular reason, Alice? I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Any reason why you chit, or is it just what you do? Digwell, I chit 1E and 2E, first early and second early seed potatoes and exhibition main crops, just to check that they are healthy and viable. So that's a reason to chit in many ways. I think that's a good reason as well. Turbo Stream, still not bought any seed potatoes yet. On the cusp of deciding whether or not I will grow any this year. Well, I think it's a good debate whether to grow potatoes or not. I've always grown potatoes. I love growing potatoes, but they are so cheap to buy and they do take up a lot of space for a long time. And if you are short on space, it may not be worth growing potatoes. That's up to you. Stephen Moscow, hello mate, hope you are well. I've always chitted my potatoes. So somebody like me. Ballycillian, I chit my first and second earlies, can't grow main crops at my allotment because of blight hits every year. That's a very good point, blight. Now, I haven't got my blight-resistant varieties yet. I'm trying to find some of the Sarpo varieties. Sarpo Myra I don't think are very good now, but the Sarpo varieties I do find to be a good potato to avoid blight and make sure you get potatoes without the risk of blight. I did chit the ones I grew last year, but was disappointed with the harvest. That's unusual. Last year I had a really good crop of potatoes overall. It was quite a wet, warm year, so I wasn't surprised. I chit, always have. It keeps me out of mischief in January. Again, that's my kind of thinking as well. It gives you something to do and make you feel like you're growing something. So yeah. Again, I feel the same. They're going to chit anyway. I chit, but for no actual reason. Yep, I think that's going to be a common theme. I chit to give them a head start so they are formed before blight hits. Good point. Ian Meadows, the rhubarb is sown from seeds last year, gave me plenty of leaf growth. So do I trim that back in the hope of a good crop this year, or just leave it alone? I'm going to say leave it alone. If it's not outside and hasn't died back, it's probably indoors. So leave it alone. It would have died back by now and started to show its new growth this year if it's outside. So leave it alone, Ian. Even if I just had a tiny balcony, I would still grow potatoes. There's nothing like homegrown potatoes with a good blob of butter. I have to agree, there is nothing like homegrown potatoes, especially first early potatoes such as Charlotte and what have you, or International Kidney are another good one. They do taste a lot better, it has to be said. I did grow potatoes when I was short on space, but they do take up a lot of space for a long period of time, and they need a lot of water. I only grow kestrel, but always chit them. So another person for chit. I have listened to other veg growers who say your potatoes get a better start. I guess with chitting, I think that is true. They do get a better start. They get an early start, but then when they do go outside, and it is not unheard of to get a frost that can kill them off. That's why I like to get them deep in the ground and cover with a good mulch of straw or grass clippings almost straight away. I have the space, but we had a dry summer compared to you from Turbo Stream. Talk about growing potatoes. Yeah, so yeah, they are very, very, very thirsty plants, potatoes. Many blight viruses have mutated, sounds familiar, and many so-called blight-resistant potatoes and tomatoes are no longer so long-lived. That is true. That's just how blight works. It mutates, there's different strains of it. Some are resistant, some are not. That's why I also like to try and grow different varieties of potatoes and different varieties of tomatoes so I can try and have the best chance of avoiding blight. Did anyone grow Maris Piper main crop potatoes last year? What sort of crop did you get from them? I got a good crop of Maris Piper actually last year. Nice size, just enough of them. I wouldn't say there was a bumper crop, but a good size, good crop. I was happy with what I got from Maris Piper. I'm not potting my potatoes in the polytunnel this year, as last year's were no good. Probably because they got a bit too hot in the polytunnel. Unless you're doing them early or late, I wouldn't bother potting them in a polytunnel, to be honest. International kidney are out of stock everywhere due to a failed crop at the supplier. I didn't know that, but doesn't surprise me. I think this year I've noticed there's a definite lack of potatoes available to buy. Graham, I grew Maris Piper last year, but I had a bad crop. There you go. So Stephen had a bad crop from Maris Piper. Interesting. Beatrice, I often take ages debating whether to grow them or not. So by the time I have brought them, they have often chitted in the shop. So I just pot them in. Yeah, I find that with one particular retailer on the high street that begins with W and ends in Ilco, I often find the potatoes they sell in there are often chitting before they have a chance. Now, somebody, I think it was Stuart, if I remember correctly, asked whether we chit in light or in the dark. So my answer to that is to chit in light, but you want it somewhere cool and dry. I'm a bit worried that a greenhouse might be a little bit cold, but an unheated bedroom, if you've got a spare unheated bedroom with plenty of light, does it well. The reason we want plenty of light when it chits is that if they're in the dark, what you get is these long, thin chits, which aren't any good. They're almost like they're stretching. They're trying to reach out for the light. Whereas if they've got plenty of light, what you get is some short, dumpy, stocky chits, which just perform a lot better. So I always say you want to chit in light. Somewhere cool and dry, because again, if they're somewhere warm, they're going to start growing off far too early and growing too big before they actually go in the ground. And then when they do go in the ground, which I normally plant my potatoes around St. Patrick's Day, March the 17th, if I remember correctly, it can suddenly be a bit of a sudden shock to them. Where do we go now? So, Stephen, I generally had a bad crop of potatoes last year. See, I had a good crop of potatoes last year, so I find that interesting indeed. Rebecca, I had the best year of my life last year for potatoes. Only just finished eating them in January. Excellent. Excellent. I'm very pleased to hear that. I think it just goes to show if you can store your potatoes correctly, you can make them last all year round. Ballycillian, I'm just growing my two favourites this year, Charlotte and Vitabella. I've got about 6 different varieties and there'll probably be more than that. I didn't get good results from going Arnold with main crop potatoes. Only ones I did in bucket were a lot better. I suspect blight was a problem because I do know blight was a big problem last year. and I'm not surprised with it how wet and dry it was, wet and hot it was. The blight was going to be a big problem. Stuart Jackson, I went to the garden centre around me and they had lots of different seed potatoes. When should I get my main crop seeds? Thanks again. So I buy them as soon as they become available in the garden centres, is my advice. That's why I went into a garden centre and I bought, was it 6? No, it was 9 different varieties. Or was it 6? One of the two. In one go, just because they were there. They were being sold. The potatoes in a couple of years ago just sold so quickly that that people were selling out. And I think that's not, well, potatoes are such a staple. We've got to be careful of what we have hold of. So I advise getting hold of them as soon as you can. Let me give my words out. Idaho Garden Girl has joined. Good evening to you. And Ian Beddoes didn't plant any spuds last year, but still had lots when I emptied the tub. Volunteers, yes. Volunteers. I always think it's amazing. Volunteers when potatoes are left in the ground or in buckets from the previous year. They always grow better than the potatoes that were planted that same year, don't they? I always find that really quite annoying, but it's so true. There's always some left in the ground. Now, our good friend, Mr. Digwell Green Fingers, has you know, he's going to make us very, very hungry. So if you haven't had your dinner, you're going to get hungry, I'm afraid. We've had our dinner, and he's performed 6 different videos, and I want to get the first one up to show you now.
Here we go with my mashed potatoes in 2 minutes or less. Salt some water. Don't worry about the salt. The salt is there to draw some of the starch out of the potatoes. And pick some potatoes that are about the same size. The more evenly sized they are, the better they'll cook. If you have small pieces and big pieces, the small pieces will waste away and the big pieces will be all crunchy. Chop them into even sized pieces and put them in the salted water for about half an hour. Drain them, rinse them, then into cold water on the stove. Always start with cold water so the whole potato heats up at the same time. Bring to the boil, then simmer for 20-25 minutes. All depends on the size of your potatoes. Drain them, then back into the warm pan on a low heat. This helps the steam dry them. Plenty of tools for mashing. That is my pastry cutter, fantastic in a plastic bowl, no good in non-stick. This one is great for crushing potatoes with skins on, not much good for mash, but I'm using my potato ricer. I love this. No chance of any lumps with this little baby, I'll tell you. If you want a creamy mash, then preheat the cream or the milk with the butter. Always put warm ingredients into the mash and mix it in. I'm just putting butter in because I'm using this for other things. And just for you guys, a little knob of butter on top. Snip a few chives over it and that was very, very nice. The rest of it will be used very shortly.
Mashed potato, delicious, isn't it? Such a simple, easy meal. He said in that the rest of it will be used very shortly in the next video. So I'm not gonna share some of my little added ingredients that I like to do with mashed potato just yet. I'm going to save that for a little bit later. But thank you very much, Digwell, Steve. Plenty more videos coming up like that. Kate Spratt has just said, and I was going to say this as well, I love my potato ricer. And I've got another vote for the potato ricer as well. It does help make some of the best mashed potato and easier than using a masher or anything. So, yeah. Let's have a quick look. So Idaho Garden Girl is saying she doesn't think seed potatoes are available yet in her area. Her ground is still frozen solid right now. So yeah, obviously Idaho being in Idaho, America, it's probably going to be completely different times to what we're saying. But yeah, please feel free to join in Idaho and share with us how you do yours. Digwell, still tipping spuds out from April 2021's buckets. I'm still digging some of my potatoes out of the ground as well to use them. That's one of the reasons I love growing potatoes, because you can make them last all year round. And I will. We won't have to buy any potatoes. That's amazing, Digwell from Idaho. Indeed it is. Rebecca Hawkins, I love mashed potato. That looks incredible. Ian Meadows, like that. That looks very yummy. Looks lovely. Dabo Stream, mashed tatties, indeed. Love a potato ricer. Gives a really good smooth mash. Thanks, Digwell. Indeed, it does. Sean James Cameron has joined. Good evening to you. Hello from London. I like to chit my potatoes. So that's another person that says they like to chit their potatoes. Anis McGowan. Space may be my problem. Last year, I only grew main crop, but this year I'd like to grow some earlies and main crop. I will be using buckets, but will my earlies still require the buckets? Will I need to plant my main crop in buckets? Maybe I should use only half the buckets for the earlies. So I'm going to move that out of the way because it blocks me out a bit, and I know you all really want to see me. A few years ago, I used to always grow my potatoes in buckets on the allotment or even at home, wherever it was, just because I found that then avoided getting any volunteers in the ground, because the compost would just get thrown into the tip and not used again. But about 2-3 years ago, with the size of my allotment and the fact I was growing so many potatoes, I decided to start growing potatoes back in the ground. And I've got to say, I got better potatoes for it. So first earlies, I would say you could do in buckets because you don't really want those to get big anyway. And then once they're harvested, they're out the way. Main crops do better in the ground, but if you're going to grow them in buckets, then just make sure you water and feed them a lot. They are very hungry and thirsty plants, so buckets is fine. What I would also say with first early potatoes, where I grow them in the ground, once they're up and out, I will plant leeks into that area afterwards, just because the timing is about right to start using that ground for the next thing. What else have we got? So Beatrice says loves. Oh, I've read that one. Graham Arnold, 3 sausages and onion gravy, please, Digwell. I warned you, he's going to make us very hungry tonight with all these potatoes. Turbo Stream, I had a baked spud with baked beans for tea tonight, followed by rhubarb and damson crumble. We had roast beef about 4 o'clock. Roast beef with roast potatoes. We have our first caller. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Sean from London.
Hello, Sean. How are you doing?
I got my potatoes on, I think it was Wednesday. And I put them out to chit into boxes.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine called in and he said, "Oh, I can't believe you're chitting so early." And I was a bit flummoxed by that, because I thought, well, even if you leave them in the bag, they'll start to chit.
Yeah. That's funny.
I'm not quite sure when people say I don't chit. What do they do? Do they put them in the fridge or something?
This is what I've been wondering myself as well, because they do just naturally begin to chit, and I always chit or put them out to chit to use that to my advantage. And I think, looking at the comments, everybody else seems to chit their potatoes as well. I can't see anybody out here that doesn't chit the potatoes. But it's farmers that say they don't chit their potatoes who are grown on mass scale. So
well, I spoke to a farmer back last March, and I'm hoping to get him on one of my videos, but farmers are busy at the moment. And he said, to a degree, they do chit. But whereas we chit them, and they could be about 2 or 3 inches long, they will chit them when they are like an inch, so that when they fall out of the what you call it, like the hopper, and they go into the trench. The chits are so young that they are quite sturdy.
Ah.
But I've had debate with somebody this morning. And he said, "Oh, I don't chit. I just put them into a dark cupboard." Okay, well, you will still end up with chits, but they'll be translucent ones, and then you can't do anything with them because they'll snap as soon as you put them in the ground. So I'm just fascinated by people who they don't chit. Well, what do you do with them?
That's what I want to find out as well. But I can't see anybody out there who has said they don't chit at the moment. So hopefully we'll find an answer out to that tonight. If not, we're going to have to investigate further.
I've been into some shops in March and chit in the bag, and they are nice. But the problem is the chits are stuck in the plastic, and then it's a job to try and get them out.
Yeah, that's why I don't buy them in bags anymore as well, for that very reason.
I think that the other question I'd also like to ask you is, when I put my potatoes in the ground, I like to put a handful of manure in. Because I feel that the heat from the manure keeps them warm, and they don't get that much of a shock if we get the odd frost. But I've heard so many people over the years going, "Oh, I don't do that because potatoes they don't get on with manure." But I've never had an issue with it.
So the problem with fresh manure or even moderately rotted manure is it could lead to scab on potatoes, from what I understand. So that might be why. But if it's only a small amount of manure, that's probably rotting down by the time the potatoes are growing. It's probably not so much of a problem.
The biggest problem I have with my potato is I forget the name of it now, but they look like little brown marks on them. And that's solely down to the fact that because I don't know why, but gardeners will go to their plots or go to their garden and they'll water every single thing 2 or 3 times a week, but they always forget the potatoes.
Well, as I said earlier, potatoes are very thirsty and they need a lot of water.
Yeah.
A lot of water. Indeed.
And there was something that potatoes and onions, I find, are the crops that people don't tend to water that much.
Yeah, the staples. Where was I?
But yes, I found if you get these little browns on them, that is because you have either underwatered or you've watered them too much. I think if you've watered them too much, therefore the potato can't handle the amount of water, so they start doing these spores.
Or was that down to irregular watering, where it's getting a flood of water quickly and then not much for a period?
Yeah, I remember I had it when I did them in a raised bed, and they were red potatoes, rooster. So I don't know if that had anything to do. But yes, I would prefer to water for 30 minutes once a week rather than 30 seconds every day.
Yeah. Little and often, as they say.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought I'd come and put my 2 bits in.
Well, that's fantastic. We'll try and find an answer to this question about what do you do if you don't chit. So, yeah, thank you very much for calling in, Sean. Let's hope we can find an answer.
All the best.
All the best. You take care.
Bye.
Bye. There we go. That was Sean James Cameron. So, lots of comments coming in, but I've also got a lot of videos to get through. So let's get in with the warning everyone, get ready to be hungry again because Digwell's cooking.
Here we go then with my cheesy potato pancakes. 500 grams of mashed potato, 100 grams of plain flour, and mix it all together. If you feel so inclined, you can add salt and pepper at this stage, and any other herbs and spices that you fancy. When you've mixed it as best you can with a fork, flour your hands get in there and make it into a nice big ball. Generously flour a tray or a plate and start making your pancakes. This mix should make about 9. Grab a chunk and form it into a disc, adding a bit more till they're about the right size. And put some cheese in the middle. I'm using a grated mozzarella and cheddar mix. You can use pure mozzarella, really stringy when it melts. Just roll the sides over to form a ball. Gently press it all together. And when you've got a nice ball, pat it back into a disc again. Yep, lovely. Cover it with flour and place it on your tray till they're all done. A couple of tablespoons of oil in the pan, medium heat. Gently place the pancakes into the pan and cook about 4 to 5 minutes on each side. And here we go. Nice stringy, gooey cheese in the middle. Oh, that's nice.
I am literally drooling after that. That has made me hungry all over again. I don't know why, because I can't fit anything in after our dinner, but what a great idea. We've still got 4 more recipes coming up using potatoes. What I want to say, we spoke about mashed potato. I'm going to add what I'd like to add. I sometimes, if I'm making mashed potato, like earlier on, I'll add cheese to it. Or sometimes a little bit of cabbage, just cooked shredded cabbage, and make, I think it's called cold cannon. Absolutely delicious. Some of my favourite recipes are using mashed potato. Stuart Jackson is saying he'll be growing all his potatoes in old buckets as he doesn't have the room to put them in the ground. Maybe next year. What is the best potato feed? I actually recommend, there's a potato feed literally called Potato Feed. You can buy it pretty much garden centres or Poundland. I found to be the pretty good stuff. And that is where I would recommend, or that's the potato feed I recommend. Richard Foam says, evening all. And going back to potato feed, actually, seaweed is meant to be quite good for potatoes as well. Ballycillian is saying, I grow in buckets. I find they need less watering if the bucket is buried in the ground, approximately 1/3 of its depth. Indeed. Chits will always regrow if snapped. I managed to snap one off 4 times last year and it still grew 1 kilo of spuds. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Does anyone spray their potatoes, tomato leaves with aspirin to help keep light off? Seen a few YouTubers do it. Does it work or is it a waste of time? So I've not done it myself, but I remember James Wong, the celebrity botanist, he said to spray tomatoes with aspirin leaves, not to keep light off. I can't remember the reason behind it, but I have heard of it. I've not tried it, but it's worth looking at. Common scab forms on very young tubers in the developing stage due to underwatering. Ian, I am chitting my Picasso potatoes in the windowsill, but not growing much chits. That's good. If they're not growing much chits, you're doing the right thing. Mark Mason has joined. Good evening to you. Last year was my first year allotment. I put the spuds in heavy clay and didn't water them at all. Did you get a good result there? Did you get a good result? What else have we got? They look yummy, those pancakes. What a cook. Brilliant. Indeed. Bubble and squeak for mashed potato as well. Indeed. Turbo Stream, I'm off down the M5 right now. See, to go and get some of those potato pancakes from Digwell. What else have we got? Mark Mason says yes, he got very good results. So there we go. Hope one of the recipes is real American hash browns. I can't get them like Denny's do. Oh, that's. I don't think we've got any hash brown recipes, but that's something we could try and work on. Last year, in my ignorance from Alice McGowan, I used some dried chicken manure. It didn't do any harm, and my spuds were okay. But I've since learned there's too much nitrogen concentrating more top growth than spud growth. Yeah, that's true. I think a bit of chicken manure does help, but a bit too much can encourage it to grow too much plants. Just thinking about it, my Christmas dinner bed, that was on where my chickens was originally. Their chicken run was originally, and that might explain why the potatoes grew so much top growth and shaded everything out. I didn't think of that. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Aspirin triggers a plant's defense mechanism as it thinks it is under attack. This gives it a head start against real pests. So there is some science behind it. Mark says, yes, very good results from how he grew his potatoes. Lots of very large potatoes and healthy. I think I've got to say, in clay soil, I'm on clay soil, potatoes do seem to grow better in clay soil. Now, just quickly, if you are enjoying this chat, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, a like, subscribe, follow, click the notification bells to get notified every time we go live. If I don't say it, I get told off from YouTube and Facebook. So I'm saying it now. I'll probably have to say it again a bit later on. Right. So far, everyone is out there is saying that they chit their potatoes, and it's something I've not seen a single person say they don't chit their potatoes. So when do you plant your potatoes? I know the traditional time is Easter weekend, around Easter time, or Easter Sunday specifically. And that's what I used to follow. But because Easter can twist and change so much, I've known Easter weekend to fall on April the 23rd before, because that's my birthday. And that's how I know it falls on that time. And that's really late compared to when Easter can be early March. I think, and this is why I follow the St. Patrick's Day for planting my potatoes or get them in the ground, because that's the same day every year. Obviously, you've got to keep an eye on the weather and the long-term forecast. But I find getting them in the ground around March the 17th, St. Patrick's Day, much more reliable than Easter weekend. Anybody got any thoughts on that? A typical potato fertilizer would be something like 5518, high in potash. And he goes on to say St. Patrick's Day for earlies and a month later for main crops. I tend to put all mine in at the same time. It's a long day getting all the potatoes in the ground, but I guess I could space them out a little. I chip mine just because I thought that's what you need to do. We have another caller. St. Patrick's Day for planting for me as well. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, Richard. See where I go.
Hello to you, Uncle. How are you doing?
What, you fell out me again?
No, never. The phone's always on for you.
No, here. I'm just phoning to say, see what you're saying this St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah.
You see in Northern Ireland that there's a tradition. Everyone always plants their potatoes on St. Patrick's Day in Northern Ireland.
Oh, interesting. So you don't follow the Easter
Most
weekend?
people's off, you see. So that there's sort of the day that you would plant it.
Interesting. Because that's the same logic behind Easter weekend, I guess. It's because everyone knows they've got some time off and time to plant it. So
over here, St. Patrick's Day, most people would be off in Northern Ireland, so that's the ideal time they plant theirs. It'd be the 17th of March every year.
17th of March every year. Interesting. And Ireland is well known for growing potatoes. So
Cumber spuds.
Yeah. What you don't know about growing potatoes isn't worth knowing.
And we be sitting them right now, getting ready for grilling on the 17th.
Yeah. So do you chit your potatoes?
Oh yes, they're
Yeah.
sitting ready, rocking and rolling now, just ready to go.
Yeah.
Egg boxes just sitting in the shed window, with a bit of newspaper over them.
Excellent. So we're all doing the right thing so far.
Everyone's got their own ideas. See, while you're on the phone, I'm not going off the subject, but I was waiting all weekend. Stuart Jackson phoning me. He must have failed me too. Did he ever get that tree sorted out?
He said earlier he had been taking it down yesterday and was a bit sore after taking it down.
No, the pear tree.
The palm tree?
School. Pear.
Oh, there was one at school, wasn't it? Was that the one he was on about earlier? I'm not sure.
Aye, I was going to give him a bit of advice, but I'll give him it now while everyone's here.
Yep.
They can all see what the hink. The guy's going to say to him, he's not allowed to top this tree because of its age. Because they'll end up causing damage.
Ah, good point.
If he goes to top it, he can only prune it this month. Because he waits the next month.
Yes.
The growth will start coming on it and he'll damage it again.
Yes.
And he's only got a couple of weeks left to wash this tree down. Because if he doesn't, the spray will scorch the leaves when they start coming.
Yes. Well, that's funny enough what it said on the calendar as well this week, didn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. And see another bit of advice for him.
Yeah.
You see, he does cut it. He wants to keep them 2.5 litre bottles of Coke and fill them with water.
Yeah.
Get a wee bit of rope and a bit of polystyrene. And as the branch grows and starts getting stronger, tie the rope around the branch, around the Coke with the water in it. And that there will weigh the branch down and it'll grow like a willow tree.
Yes, I have heard that.
And that means it'll be handier for the kids to pick the pears instead of having to climb a ladder 20 foot in the air.
Yeah. Almost like a bonsai tree where you're forcing the trees to grow, the branches to grow down. So
the only reason why I know that, Richard, is there's a fella in the allotment, had an allotment, and he must have had it about 10, 15 years. But he turned his into an orchard. He didn't grow nothing, only trees, no fruit trees. And you want to see that crop he had. It was unbelievable, Richard, unbelievable. But ended up he gave the allotment up. But you know yourself, when you give it up, it's yours to do. Some headbanger went and cut them away.
Yeah.
I know, it was sad.
Yeah.
But just tell him, I was researching to see if he gets the tree wash. It's only going to cost him 12 quid.
Yeah.
When he gets the fruit tree grease, 6 quid. And if he gets the tree bond, 7 quid, he'll get all that off Amazon. And that'll keep the pests off it when he washes it.
Yeah, he's just bought a comment. Pear tree, thanks for the advice. I love the water bottle trick.
Here, tell him I'm looking one of these forest teachers' jobs. Seems we're giving him all the face for it.
I think
the thing is, they wouldn't want no dinosaur like me beating about the school, would they?
Yeah, I think he's heard. So there you go.
After you young guys have to keep that flame going. All right, Richard. Nice talking to you again in the Fed Army here. God bless, son. God bless.
You too. All the best. Take care, my friend. All the best. Bye. Right. There we go. That was Oracle. So there we go. What in Northern Ireland or what Ireland don't know about growing potatoes. So there we go. And I like that tip, as Beatrice said, about the bottles to encourage the branches, the branches of the trees to grow lower to make it easier. And I do remember something for a fruit growing expert recommend growing your branches lower, forcing your branches lower to grow fruit. I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. So Sue is saying, how many seed potatoes to a bucket? I recommend about 3 seed potatoes per bucket, personally. Some people do 6, but they put 3 low down, fill it up with compost, and then 3 higher up. Personally, I don't do that, but I recommend 3 to a bucket, depending on how big your bucket is, of course. I'm talking about the big potato buckets. But if you're doing a small bucket, then not so many. Let's have another. Get ready to get hungry again, because we've got another video from Digwell.
Right, 170 grams of plain flour. Oh, I got to read this. 45 gram of wholemeal flour, 150 gram of mashed potato that's cooled down, 2 tablespoons of butter, half an egg. Right, in dried ingredients in there. We've got a tablespoon of sugar, a teaspoon of yeast, and a teaspoon of salt. The liquid we're using to make this is the potato cooking water. Okay, in with a flour, 2 flours, yeast, salt and sugar. Got it. And the butter. $60 of this. It's going to be awkward because 100 on there. And as usual, if it's too dry, you add more water. If it's too wet, you add more flour. And when it's sort of like that, you put the mashed potato in. Okay, all I'm going to do now is form that into a ball and then let it prove for about, till it doubles. Second proving, 30 odd minutes in a warm place yet again, and then do the baking. Well, there we are then. 20 minutes in the oven at 220. These 3 I did egg glaze on, these 2 I just left. Certainly is soft. And look at that, that is spongy as you like. Well, my daughter must have smelt these cooking a mile away. She sent the grandkids round to get some, so there's Logan enjoying his, Layla tucked into hers, and Bryony had to have one as well. I shall be making these more often.
Wow, I'm getting really hungry again. But I've never thought about using potatoes in that way, so that was really interesting. Is it healthier as well? I wonder. I don't know. Interesting. Only question I have about that is you said while making it, if it's too dry, add more water, and if it's too wet, add more flour. I think. How do you know? How do you know if it's too wet or too dry? What's your gut instinct on that, or is it down to experience? Is there any set way? Digwell, over to you to answer that. So there we are. I was saying that I like to plant mine in. Have we got comments that I've missed? Oh yes, there's a few. 6 buckets in polytunnel today, 24 buckets outside, first Sunday in April, helps me miss the late May frosts. Any risk of frost, then a handful or 2 of straw on the homes will help ward it off. I've just heard barking just outside, so let me see if somebody's going to come in. You coming in, Roxy? Oh, she's poked her head in the door. Are you coming in? You can hear her. Come on then, Roxy. I like to add grass clippings and straw. I found actually when I mulch my potatoes as they grow to try and get more and more potatoes and cover the area up, I found grass clippings to actually really work quite well. They hold on to the moisture, they rot down anyway, and they're free. They don't cost anything more than the compost. Obviously, if you make your own compost, like I say, you can come in. I I find that grass clippings have just produced better results, and the potatoes actually come out a lot cleaner, and protects from the frost as well. The straw works as well, for that matter. I used straw in some buckets last year or the year before. I think it was a year before, and it was a good experiment. The potatoes were brilliant, but they did come out clean. Any other comments that I've got that I'm missing? Oh, good idea with the bottles for Oracle. And Beatrice says, great tip with the bottles. I might do that on one of my trees. I thought that was a great tip as well. She's still out there, but she's not coming in. She doesn't come into this shed for some reason anymore. You can come in, Roxy. Love Oracle's Northern Irish accent. Indeed, it's always good to hear different accents, I say. Another great recipe. Thank you. Ballycillian, 30-litre bucket, 6 inches of compost, 2 seeds beside the handles, another 6 inch of compost, 2 seeds opposite compass points, then top up buckets to 1 inch from the top. Makes it easier to water, no overspill. This was for Sue in the Facebook group asking about how many potatoes per bucket. Another great video for Digwell. Looks delicious. That's it, Digwell. We can't take any more. We got 3 more videos still to come. This one should be this one should be a very sticky dough, but normal bread dough is right when it's dry to the touch. Yeah, good. Digwell, you're like a garden in Nigella, just with less hair. Yeah. And Katie's asking, what dog have I got? She's a 6-month-old Shar-Pei crossed with Staff. I'm going to put a video up, another one of the cooking videos up, and see if I can get her in for you. Let's, which one have we got? This one. Ready?
Okay then guys, here we go with my volcano potatoes. Get your knife sharp first and just score the skin a little bit. Nothing too mad, just a bit like baked potatoes really. Wrap them up in kitchen foil and in the oven 220 degrees for about half an hour. Here we are then, just over half an hour later. Off with the foil and top and tail them as square as you can get them. And use a teaspoon and a knife and core out the centre. A bit like skinned potatoes, I suppose. Grab some streaky bacon and wrap it round each potato. Hold it in place with a cocktail stick or half a cocktail stick. And make up your filling. The world is your oyster here, guys. You can use anything you want. I'm using cream cheese, some grated cheese, chives, coriander, spring onions, minced meat, rice, couscous, anything you want will work. When you think you've got enough in there, grab the back of a wooden spoon and poke it down and put some more in. Load it as far as you can. Put one of the cut off parts of potato back on top. In the oven again, another 20 minutes just to get the bacon brown. And when they come out, some more cheese on top, a little drop of tomato sauce, hence the volcano. Back in the oven, another 10 minutes just to melt the cheese. Here we go then, all done. Kids love these, and it's a good way to get them to eat things they don't like. Fill these with mozzarella or Philadelphia even, and when you cut them open, not only will you have a volcano, you'll have a lava flow as well. And needless to say, they were very, very nice.
So hungry again. Sorry, unfortunately, Roxy is not coming in. She keeps running to the door, barking at me, and then running back. I think she wants me back indoors because it's it's just gone 7 o'clock. So she's going on to guard mode, but she has to get used to it. Anyway, yeah. What a delicious looking meal again. I love this thinking outside the box of what we can do with potatoes. Love it, Digwell. I know what I'm getting tomorrow night. And Stuart Jackson saying, Digwell, you are making me hungry. You're spoiling us tonight. They look fab. And Digwell, you are making me hungry. They look yummy. Proper nice, Digwell. By the way, don't forget Digwell Greenfingers. If you're not following him on YouTube, he has a fantastic YouTube channel where he's cooking lots of these recipes up and showing us how to do it. So please do go and follow him. And just be prepared. You will get hungry. You will get very, very hungry. My Facebook page is often plastered with the meals that he cooks, and it makes me very hungry. A new TV show, Digwell, the Hairless Baker. Brilliant. The man's a superb cook. Proper nice, Digwell. Oh, it's so true. It's so true. They just look fantastic, don't they? The cooking that he is doing. I actually, while I was trying to lure Roxy into the shed, I actually found I have some organic potato fertilizer from Wilco's sat here. I didn't even see it down there. So what does it say? I'm just reading the instructions. So it says to apply before planting between February and April. So I need to get out in the ground pretty soon. And what is it? It's 425.8. So it's quite high in phosphorus pentoxide, it says. Phosphorus, if you like. I didn't quite know I had that there. It's just as I was stood up and I saw it out the corner of my eye. Just how I do mine in buckets. The top layer of compost can be just about any rubbish as no roots grow there. And he goes on to say, I am very humbled, guys. Thank yous. Just subbed. Heavens no, I wasn't before. There you go. There you go. Indeed. I do urge everyone to go and check him out. There's his Digwell Greenfingers. Find him on YouTube. I don't think he's got a Facebook page, but I do recommend checking out his YouTube channel. I wonder what varieties of spuds everyone grows. So many choices. That's a good question, actually. What varieties do you grow? I've got to say, I always grow King Edward and Maris Piper as my main crops. I have to grow those without fail. King Edwards are just the best for roast potatoes, especially on Christmas Day. And Maris Piper are just brilliant for chips. So they are top of my list for what spuds I grow. I also like to grow Charlotte. I'd also be looking at International Kidney, or if they were grown in Jersey, Jersey Royals, because they are delicious potatoes as well. Just a few that I absolutely must grow. Pink Fir Apple. They're a very knobbly potato, but they are delicious. Highly recommend those. Jazzy is one I've seen that is meant to be very popular at the moment, meant to taste really good. I've not had any experience with that. But what other potatoes do you grow? Rebecca says, I have to grow Charlotte for summer salads. I grow Maris Piper last year, thinking of Charlotte this year. For some reason, I always want to say shallot instead of Charlotte. I don't know why. Graham Arnold, Pentland Javelin and Nicola Earlys. Yep, indeed. Good choices there. So get your potato varieties coming in. Let's have a quick look at a few photos that has been sent in to me either in the Facebook group or by email or what have you. So first of all, Toby is showing off his aubergines that he sown the seeds last month and they are all germinated. Off to an early start, off looking good as well, looking very, very good, and there's going to be lots of aubergines variety, if I remember correctly, is Black Beauty. Stephen has harvested the last of his parsnips. They look actually really good parsnips, got to say. I've got a few more to get out of my ground very, very soon. Steve Digwell, his robin has been making a nest in his garden, in the birdhouse, putting it right into use. Stuart Jackson has been sowing some strawberry spinach, and it's germinated well and looks great. Also like the way he's using paper, newspaper for biodegradable pots. That should be there. It's from last week. Steve again has added this little bit of advice. Don't spring into the garden cleanup too soon. Wait until temperatures are consistently above 10 degrees C, 50 F. Many butterflies, bees, and other pollinators are currently wintering in dead leaves and hollowed out stems of last year's plants. Let them be. Indeed, I think that's a good advice to not be too tidy. Philly SBB has shared me this photo of his potatoes in buckets. These are the potato buckets that I use, about that size, to give you some sort of idea what we're talking about. And I think these are the 6 he's mentioned that he's planted today. Amanda Joy, who's in the group tonight as well, her polytunnel has been damaged in these high winds, as you can see in this photo. But rest assured, her and her neighbour have been repairing it today. Now, finally, of course, it wouldn't be complete without some Beddoes humour. Some bad news. I've not been feeling my best over the last few days. I wanted to let everyone know that I've been admitted into hospital. I've only gone and poisoned myself thanks to my own cooking skills. What I thought was an onion for my salad turned out to be a daffodil bulb. They said I should be out in early spring. So thank you very much for sharing that. And that is a joke. He's not actually in hospital. It is a joke. Just in case anybody does worry about that. So let's see what we've got coming in. Right, so what is people growing? Pentland Javelin and Nicola Early's. Good choices. Toby Street finally got around to joining the supporters club this weekend too. Might do some actual gardening next week. Yes, some members of my supporters club. It's out there. Has anyone's seeds actually turned up this month? Yeah, I've got to ask, because I'm having a lot of trouble with Royal Mail. I've sent a packet to myself, and that was sent on Monday, and it still hasn't turned up here. I'm having a chat with them tomorrow. I'm going to give them a call. I grow Sarpo Myra all the way. If you leave them into December, if we have no frosts, and the tubers are monsters. Also some pink fir apples. I try different first earlies each year. I'm with you on the Sarpo Myras. I don't find the flavour to be as good as some of the others, but the pink fir apples, I always think it's a weird name for potatoes. Pink fir apple. It just seems a bit like it's lost in confusion. Ballysillan grows a Vita Bella. I've never heard of that variety. Beatrice, Charlotte, pink fir apple, and Maris Piper are my current favourites. Stuart, I'm growing rocket potatoes as an early this year. I think I've got rocket actually. Laura W, Pentland Javelin. That's another vote for Pentland Javelin. Turbo Stream, what is a good main crop that will do everything? Might try that instead this year. I'm trying to think. I like King Edwards, but do they do everything? That's a good question. Richard, not Philly. They mine. He sends them in for me. Sorry, yes, they're Ballysillian photos. So Ian's seeds haven't turned up. Richard's seeds haven't turned up. Beatrice's seeds haven't turned up. Laura's seeds haven't turned up. And Stuart's seeds haven't turned up. Right, I'm on it. I'm giving Royal Mail a ring. If they haven't turned up by the end of this week, let me know. I will send them out to you again. But I'm having a lot of trouble with Royal Mail because they keep doing this to me. I'm paying first-class stamps, and they seem to take forever. And I've even, last January, one of my supporters, his didn't turn up for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Degrells haven't turned up either. I'm having a conversation because I'm not happy about this. Especially if you see how much work I put in to get them all ready. Digwell, Casablanca, first early. Winston, first early. Charlotte, second early. Vivaldi, second early. Conda, main crop. Mar Fauna, second early. Nicholas, second early. Picasso, main crop. Pink Gypsy, main crop. That's a lot of different seeds. We have a lot of COVID in West Sussex posties. That might be the issue. There's a lot of COVID, so I'm going to send them earlier this month, at the end of this month, and second class or something to try and see. Well, I didn't realise. Sorry, Richard. I didn't realise you were a postman, so I didn't mean to insult you, but glad somebody said that. Rebecca, mine haven't turned up either. That's yeah, right. I'm on it. Mostly for show. Digwell seeds are. Richard, and all around main crop I like was Sarpo Kilfee. Couldn't get them posted to me this year. Sarpo Kilfee, couldn't get them posted. I've never heard of Sarpo Kilfee, but I am experimenting with different Sarpo varieties. It's not a problem, Richard. We know it's not you. It's due to COVID, I'm sure. I've not had a postie for weeks. It just drives me mad. It does drive me mad. Anyway, I'll move on from that. Let's have a look at another video from Digwell.
Okay, Hasselback potato. You can do these big, you can do these small. I'm doing mine big. This is the ideal shape, almost flat bottom with a round top. Cut the bottom off so it balances on the cutting board there, nice and flat. Save the cut off piece, we're going to use that later. Couple of wooden spoons each side and slice the potato 3-4 millimeters thick all the way through. And when I say all the way through, I mean through to the wooden spoons. If you're really confident, you can do without them. I've never succeeded. And rest the potato in salted water for about an hour. And once again, this draws out some of the starch. If you're doing small potatoes to go with a roast, just slice them, oil them and roast them. No need to go to all this trouble. But this is almost a main course, if you like. And I put the off-cut of potato in the bowl because I'm going to use that as a trivet. I didn't want to lose it. Pat the potato dry and onto a baking tray. I love these little individual portion baking trays. Drizzle it with oil, sprinkle it with salt and rub the salt in. In the oven for 30 minutes at 220 Celsius. Take the potato out of the oven every 10 minutes and apply your buttery rub. I made up a rub of butter, dried rosemary and garlic granules. Any herbs will do, but I think you'll find that dried works better. They're already dry and the butter helps them to release their essential oils. I think fresh herbs would evaporate too much. 2 or 3 brushings will do, and after a while you've got no fresh rub left, so you use the drippings from the bottom. About the same time as a baked potato, this size really, just about an hour. And there we are. One Hasselback potato. Lovely, look at that. Oh.
Delicious, absolutely delicious. I'm going to have to go and eat something when I finish this show tonight. It looks absolutely delightful. I'm looking forward to actually getting my potatoes growing now and harvesting these and cooking some of these recipes that Digwell has been really good enough to send in. Do you send letters as a business or in a post box? I'm trying to set up a business account, but it seems so complicated, and I've got to sit down and go through it and set it all up. They are a white Sarpo. That was the Sarpo Kilfee, a white Sarpo. I'm going to look out for them because I'm trying different Sarpo varieties. Loving that knife sharpener, Digwell. Yeah, that is a great knife sharpener from Beatrice. I did like that knife sharpener. I have a bit of a knife collection, and I'm the type, I got the old-fashioned sharpening stone, and I'm grinding away. But I did like that knife sharpener as well. What else have we got? Our post comes about 4 p.m. That's right. I'm off for supper from Anis. Indeed, off for supper. I've had my tea, but I'm feeling really hungry now. Yeah, me too. With the Hasselback, you can stuff the slits with ham or cheese at the last bacon. That's what I was thinking actually when I saw you doing that. I was thinking a bit of ham and cheese, maybe even bacon in there would go down really, really well. Oh, I'm liking the idea. Now, we got one more video coming up from Digwell in just a few minutes. But next week, I'm going to do a grow along, a leek sowing grow along. So we're going to sow some leeks. Going to update you with the aubergines from last month, which have now been pricked out. I've got to say that. Pricked those out on Thursday. And the chilies from the week before, I'll show you how they're getting on as well. But what we're going to need for next week's, obviously you're going to need leek seeds. I've got the King Richards. I've also got seeds sent out in the supporters club. I'm probably going to sow the King Richard next week on this show. We're going to need compost and one of these polystyrene boxes, or if you can get hold of one. I know they may not be that easy to get hold of, but if you have a word with a school kitchen, they usually have fish delivered in those, or a restaurant, they usually throw them away. They are great for starting off leek seeds. Just fill it up with compost and that's ready to go for next week. That's all you're going to need: compost, one of those containers, and the seeds. If you can't get one of those containers, don't worry, any pot will do. It's just that those containers just have a little bit special about them. Right. So Beatrice says, what does Sarpo mean? There seems to be a few varieties. It's just an indication of their blight resistance, as I understand it. A bit of a brand name. How many ways are there to bake a spud? Indeed, yeah. It's all about being different. Stop it, Digwell. I'm salivating. The mention of ham and cheese on that potato. Thanks, Digwell. Fishmongers have those boxes too. Yeah, fishmongers, like I say, it's where they usually get them delivered. I've got quite a few of them over the years because I sow all my leeks in those. Great. I'm away for my birthday next week, but we'll be back for the show. We'll join in with a leek sowing. Indeed. So please do send us some photos of your aubergines from the last month sow along and the chili seeds from the month before, so we can all see how they're getting on. And please do join in with the sow along as well. So this final video, are you ready to get very hungry again? Here we go.
Okay then, here we go with my chips. Triple cooked chips. And these are real chips, not French fries like you have in America. Sorry, Idaho Garden Girl. Any main crop will do. Peel them and slice them into roughly equal sized pieces and boil them in lightly salted water. What the salt does is draw out some of the starch from the potato, because the fresh water in the potato wants to go towards the salt water in the pan. It's called osmosis. Drain the chips, give them a quick shaking in the colander, and this roughs up the edges, makes for a nice crispy chip. So on with the first frying. Fresh oil, about 130 Celsius, and all we're doing this time is getting a little bit of colour on the outside of the chips. That'll do, a little bit of colour to them. You're not trying to cook them properly at the moment, but what you can do at this stage is let them cool down and they'll keep in the fridge for about a week. And these ones are going in the fridge, and these ones are for cooking. 160 Celsius oil this time, and even with the cold chips these will cook in 2 to 3 minutes, so keep an eye on them. And here we go guys, what I consider to be my perfect chip. Oh, I need some now.
You're not the only one that needs some now. I need some chips now, so yeah, I'm going to have to go and make some chips in just a moment. I'm going to add my way of cooking chips. I've got a halogen air fryer, and I don't think the chips turn out as good as Digwell's way, but the chips on using a halogen air fryer, it turns out really well. So all I do is I peel the potatoes, chop them into chips, put them in the halogen air fryer with a bit of oil, and then turn it on for about 30 minutes, and you get out some really nice crispy chips in a very quick amount of time. So if you are in a rush and you just want some chips, that's the way I find to do it if you've got a halogen air fryer. Also good for roast potatoes as well, using a halogen air fryer. 45 minutes, same sort of thing. There's no parboiling, nothing beforehand, just quickly in there. I do love my air fryer, and I find it great. Especially like cooking a roast dinner on Christmas Day, the air fryer, just that different temperature that you need for everything just helps. Digwell does say, let's find the mouse, that air fryers are good, so I'm pleased that he approves of the air fryers. That's something I never eat home cooked chips. I love some, but don't have a fryer. That's why I go for the air fryers. We don't have a deep fat fryer or a chip pan anymore. We can use our heavy duty stock pan if we really had to, but the air fryer is our preferred way. But I've got to say, they are not as good as a deep fried fat, but I mean, I like the good chip shop from the good chip shop chips. I do want my chips in the oven, same way to start off, but coat them in olive oil and roast next to a chicken piece. Ooh, delicious. Yeah, delicious. Well, I think we are all very hungry now, aren't we? Funny enough, just talking about roasting next to a chicken, when I cook, we had roast beef today. I actually used the fat from the roast beef to cook my roast potatoes as well, so you get a bit more of that beef flavour, which I just think just adds to the meal. It certainly does. Anyway, I think we are all very, very hungry now. Those chips look delicious, Digwell. So don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to give a thumbs up, don't forget to follow, don't forget to do everything you can to get notified whenever we go live. We'll be back again next Sunday at 6, like I say, with a leek sow along. So get your leek seeds ready and get everything ready that you need for that. I'm going to start wrapping it up. I think we are all incredibly hungry now. I think we're going to have to run off and go and cook some chips or something, aren't we? Digwell's made us very, very hungry. Please do share with us how you're going to be growing your potatoes this year, and keep posting your pictures of your potatoes throughout the year, and we'll see how we get on later on in the year. See you next week, guys. No leek recipes, don't worry. I think, Digwell, you've outdone yourself this week and made everybody very hungry, so I will have to come up with something for leek. In fact, I've got a few ideas straight away. Great show, fab chat and info. Thanks all. Thank you very much, Beatrice. Bye, everyone. See you next week. Hargrave Gas, thanks. Another great episode. See you all next week. Thanks for another great live show. See you all next week for the leek sow along. Night all. Great chat. Great show tonight. Great mixture of topics. Thanks for letting me join. You're always welcome. Great show, and well done, Digwell. Superb effort indeed. I really want to thank Digwell for the amount of effort he's put in tonight with those videos. Anybody else got any videos, then please do send them to me. WeTransfer.com. My email address is richard@veggrowerpodcast.co.uk. As long as it's garden or cook related, cooking vegetables, that'll be great. And please do join our Facebook group and post your pictures, or you can email me or send them to me via any of our social media channels. Lot to get through. You take care, guys. I'll see you all again once I've set this up. My mouse is decided to play up right at the very end. Once I set all this up to get this gone. There we go. You take care, guys. See you all again next time.